Baldur's Gate 3's Early Access Patch 4 has now graced us with its presence, so in today's video, we're going to go over Patch 4. Those of you that follow the channel know that I already did a pre-Patch 4 video covering the panel from Hell 2, as well as what to expect for the Druid class, so some of this information many of you may already know. But now Patch 4 is officially out and I've sunk about 10 hours into it, and we have the official patch notes. This is going to be a pretty basic video, just giving you the information and some of my thoughts, so you don't have to read through the 8 pages of notes from Larian Studios. The biggest addition to Patch 4 is of course the Druid class. I'm going to keep this quick and simple, and we'll release an official Druid class guide within the next couple days. The Druid class will come with 2 subclass choices that you'll be presented with at level 2, Circle of the Land and Circle of the Moon. Circle of the Land Druids are more nature spellcasting focused, while the Circle of the Moon Druids get benefits associated with using Wild Shape, which is basically shapeshifting into animal forms. The forms currently offered include the Deep Wrath, Direwolf, Badger, which is really cool, Spider, Polar Bear, Raven, Cat, and even an Aberrant Intellect Devourer form. 14 Druid spells have been added to the game, spells of level 1 and 2, as well as cantrips. Some of these spells are actually a lot of fun, such as the Flaming Sphere spell. Flaming Sphere spell. Playing as a druid, you'll now find additional paths in multiple dialogues that will reflect your druidic training. This will be most notable when visiting the Druid's Grove, where you'll have more knowledge about the current ongoings than other classes do, and you can even take the position of Faith Warden of the Grove, depending on your actions. I think I actually ruined my chances of gaining that title when I decided to play around with the Flaming Sphere spell in a grove filled with beautiful foliage. You'll also notice lots of new dialogue when you're in animal form talking to other animals, and I highly recommend chatting with every single creature that you see because some of it's quite comical. And the last thing on this druid topic is that you'll notice NPC druids now using the new abilities and spells that come with the druid class. Alright, on to some of the game improvements, starting with the weighted dice. Dice rolls can now be weighted to avoid streaks of success or failure. Yes, I did say success as well. This will affect activities that use a d20, which includes attack rolls, saving throws, and ability checks. This does not go for damage rolls. Larian says specifically, the aim here is to smooth out the extremes of the dice rolling bell curve that might otherwise see players roll a series of unlucky natural 1s or all 2 lucky d20s in a row. Who's rolling multiple d20s in a row? And who in their right mind would actually be angry if they did so? This feature is obviously more so being implemented to help alleviate some frustration that players experience, because everyone does have different levels of tolerance. But I'm really trying to wrap my head around why they would lower the chance of someone getting 2 d20s in a row. It's already extremely rare, and if it does happen, it can be a really fun moment that's not forgotten. But hey, this is early access, features will come into the game, be removed, tweaked, and so on. I guess the problem that I have with this feature at this time is that there's only one toggle feature that contains both failure and success. It's not separated into 2 separate toggles. And I would assume that anyone who's using the weighted dice in the first place probably doesn't want their success chance going down, but that's just my 2 cents. The other minor problem that I have with this is that it seems to be auto turned on at the moment. I think it should definitely be the other way around. So make sure to go into your game settings and turn it off if you want the true RNG pure experience. Even though I don't like this feature at all, considering that it's optional, I'm okay with it, and I really don't care how others go about their playthrough. Enjoyment is key. Speak with Dead now has updated cinematic dialogue with visual effects and animations. And on that topic, many cinematics, animations, and lighting in general have been given some more polish. I highly recommend using Speak with Dead as much as you can. They are cool little cutscenes that offer a lot of potential insight into the underlying plot. There's also more corpses that you can now talk to. As Sven says, if you killed everybody like an idiot and you didn't pay attention to the story and don't know what to do anymore, you can just go talk to their bodies. I do this a lot myself because I'm streaming and not paying attention, so I love this. There is now a dedicated button that allows party members to individually flee a battle. To be able to do this, you must be at least 27 meters away from the nearest enemy. I think this is a nice addition to the game. One of the best quality of life improvements with the patch is the ability to target portraits if you so choose. You no longer have to click on the individual enemies or friendlies to target them. Just look for their portrait on the side of your screen. Be careful though, because if you're like me, you probably haven't developed the habit of doing this, and you might activate a spell but then decide to switch to a different party member by targeting their portrait, and instead you end up setting your party member on fire because you didn't deactivate the initial spell. Oops. Some of you guys will of course notice the UI improvements, as some of it has been restructured and polished up. This goes for character tooltips, main menu and profile menu, surface and cloud tooltips, death saving throws, container UIs, and notifications. The most notable restructuring was done to the options interface. Also on the interface topic, if you're playing multiplayer, you can now see other players' full equipment, spells, inventory, and character sheets. Let the pickpocketing begin. Pathfinding for your characters has now been improved in many places. Gith now have proper Gith weapons, I'll let you guys see that for yourself. The Flaming Fist have their coat of arms on their shield, and crossplay was added through Direct Connect with the Mac version. Alright, now on to usability changes. Trading and bartering prices are now clearer, and you can now see both the original value and their adjusted trade price in the item tooltips. I'll also note that druids will get cheaper prices when purchasing items from the Halfling Druid merchant. Conditions you may be affected with in combat will now show up in the combat log. This is great and will help you better understand as to what is happening to your character when in battle. Traps can now be disabled by double clicking on them if you have a disarm toolkit. I've been waiting for this one for a while. In combat, your current player character will be outlined in blue if it's not their turn. This can be nice to avoid confusion. And lastly, support was added to drag and drop attackable items. The list of changes for balancing issues is quite large, so I'll go over the more notable ones. Herbs and mushrooms will no longer cost a bonus action. Devil's Sight, the Warlock's Eldritch invocation, was bumped up to 24 meters range, which makes it the same as Superior Dark Vision. And more importantly, it now grants immunity to the blinded condition from darkness. Before, it didn't work in darkness, so there was really no point in taking Devil's Sight, which was a bummer because Devil's Sight accompanied with the darkness spell can be a really fun way to play the Warlock and add a little variety to your playstyle. Well, now you can enjoy it. Searing Smite has been added to Zariel Tieflings at level 3. Stinking Clouds will no longer affect items. You can now apply multiple Hunter's Marks to targets, and also for the Ranger, Colossus Slayer now properly only triggers when a target is not at full health. So that's a bit of a nerf, but this is how it's supposed to be. Hellish Rebuke can no longer be blocked by terrain. That's a nice buff for it. The level 2 Charm Person spell is now an AoE spell that targets up to 2 creatures. Specific treasure was created for the Boulette. And I guess it is Boulette and not Boulette. Somebody corrected me in the comments. I did some research and I think they're right. I'm not quite sure what they mean by specific treasure. I'm guessing it's loot when you kill it. So it's time to go kill a Boulette. In terms of stability, Larian has fixed 22 game crashing issues that have been reported. So that's always great news. And then there's also an insanely large list of general fixes to the game, and I'll quickly go over some of the more notable ones here as well. Projectiles will now be able to hit invisible creatures. You can now self-cast spells when invisible. You can now drag items from a corpse into the world. Picking up items will not break invisibility. Followers would sometimes miss their jumps. This has now been fixed. More thrown objects will now deal damage like they're supposed to. Some misleading calculations in the combat log for skill checks have been fixed. They fixed swapping control of characters during combat, resulting in followers being unable to end their turn. I did notice this in the past, so this is a nice fix. Crime behaviors have been added for myconids, but I'm not exactly sure what that means. Maybe they act differently when you do something illegal to myconid law, not sure. Some spell scrolls have now been fixed. The addled frog will no longer hurt itself while jumping. Gotta love it. The Life Cleric's Bless spell will now affect 4 characters when cast at level 2. Chill Touch will now properly apply disadvantage. Level 2 Ensnaring Strike will now deal damage. Volo will now react correctly when you save him. Glowing effects have been added to certain potions and flasks that should glow. More destructive visual effects have been added to several items as well, so make sure to use them. Spoiler alert, you can now steal the antidote from Nettie after she poisons you. And another spoiler alert, if Lae'zel dies in her cage, the tieflings will now react accordingly. I gotta try that out now. If the hag dies, the masks in her lair will no longer attack the player, and the hag's masked victims will now die if you remove their masks while they're still alive. Interesting. New music tracks will be playing while resting in the camp, and they are nice. Balin is now bald. In the Underdark, you should be able to shove enemies off more skiffs now. Accidentally jumping off the Nautiloid ship is now harder to do. LOL. And yeah, that's basically it, but that was only probably 30 to 40% of the full list of fixes coming with this patch. Links to the patch 4 notes will of course be below if you want to go over it all. Thanks so much for watching, guys, and be on the lookout for some more Baldur's Gate 3 videos.